In this video, we're going to talk about the filter method in JavaScript array. So before going into this topic, I want you to know a couple of terms related to programming in general, like what is a predicate function. You know what a function is, right? It will take some amount of inputs and give you an output. Now a function will be called a predicate function if it always returns a boolean, means true or false. So let's see an example of a predicate function. Say we write a function called is greater than 2. It will take a number as its input, and if the number is greater than 2, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. By the way, I'm using VS Code here and we will run this file with Node.js. If you want to follow along, just Google how to run JavaScript file with Node in Windows or Mac or whatever maybe your operating system is. So if we call this function with 5, it will return true. With 1, it will return false. So this is a proper predicate function, right? It is just returning true or false, means boolean. Now let's understand the filter function. As its name says, this function is used to filter out elements from an array. Say you have a random numbers array and you want to make a new array from this array with the numbers which are greater than 20. First solution, what you can do is create a variable named new array, run a for loop and iterate over the array and check if the number is greater than 20 or not. If it is, then push that number to the new array. Otherwise, do nothing. So if I console log this new array and run the code, you can see I'm getting an array without the numbers less than 20 as expected, right? Problem with this approach is you have to take care of the iteration part as well. Like you need to declare a new variable and then increment that is time. There's so much overhead. So instead of going with this solution, what you can do is call the filter method on the array and pass a predicate function. Now you already know what a predicate function is, right? This predicate function will be called with every element as its input, and if this predicate returns true, then that input will be stored in the new array, and if the predicate returns false, then that element will not be included. This is the whole logic. So we can make a predicate function like is greater than 20 and check if the input is greater than 20 or not. Just okay. So if I console log this thing, as you can see, we are getting the same result as before. You can shorten this function even more, like we can remove this if else statement and return n is greater than 20 or not. As this thing is an expression, it will result always into some kind of value. So if we return n is greater than 20, you are getting either true or false based on the comparison. Now here we are passing a traditional function. We can even pass an inline arrow function if we want as the filter function's argument. So as you can see, we are not running this function, right? When we are passing that function as an argument, because to run the function, you need to put a pair of parentheses after the function. We're just giving the function to the filter function or the filter method, and the filter function will run our predicate function this time. We are not running it. The filter function will run it for us. So let's provide an arrow function. This will also take number as its input. So if we run this code now, same output, okay? Now if you want, you can even shorten the syntax. Like in an arrow function, when you are just returning something on the first line, you don't have to write this return keyword and put the code inside a curly braces. So you can remove this. If we run this code now, you can see we are getting the same output. Okay, so everything is working. Let's see another example. Say you have a students array where you are having the student's name and their score. Okay, and you want a new array with the students who have scored say more than 70. So let's create a new array called top scorer, and that will be equal to the students.filter, and let's pass an arrow function as our predicate function. Now in this case, the student array is an array of objects, right? Each of the elements in the array is an object. So this arrow function will receive a student object. So we can just return student.score is greater than 70 because the score is inside the student object, right? So we have to return say student.score greater than 70. And if we console log this thing, as you can see, we are getting a filtered array where all the students have a score more than 70. So this is all about the filter method. If you want to learn more about this topic, you can always visit the MDN documentation. And if you think you learned something from this video, consider subscribing this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.